Welcome back to the Ranch Doctor Uptown here. I'm going to do some work on a rifle today. This is a Remington 597. It's a 22 long rifle. This is, I believe Remington's basically answer to the Marlin Model 60 with the advantage of using a clip-fed mechanism instead of a tube-feed magazine. To kind of put in competition, I guess, also with the Ruger 1022. However, this one has a problem, and in doing some research, it appears that it's kind of a universal problem with the Remingtons in general. The biggest issue that you read is issues with feeding, and then other issues with the cartridges failing to eject or failing to eject properly. This one has both a feeding and a failure to eject properly problem combined. And the reason behind that is because the owner of it is Justin over at Bricktown Firearms, and he said the very first time that he had the opportunity to take this out and shoot it, as he described, it fired the one round and the next round basically exploded in his face. Well, I got to doing some looking at it while we were at his shop. The thing I noticed about it was that the ejector was missing completely, not even there. So to remedy that situation, we've ordered us a new ejector. We've also ordered us a new ejector pin, which goes in the end of the spring, which puts the pressure on the ejector. Now, the one thing that we were lucky about was that the spring was retained inside the bolt. And as we get this apart, we'll show you those parts. We did order some new parts from Midway USA. We got those in the mail the other day. And we also went ahead and ordered some sights. And when he bought this, he bought it used a few years back, but when he bought this gun, it did not have, it had a scope on it, and the scope was something that he did not want to retain. So he changed the scope out, but either the previous owner had removed the rear sight, or the rifle originally came with this blank rear sight in it. So I'll have to apologize too. I have been, the reason I haven't gotten to this video thus far is I've been suffering with a cold for the last 5 days, and in the process of doing so have probably given myself pneumonia. So the nose is a bit runny and my voice is a bit crackly. And I just generally don't feel super terrific, but I felt that I should get out here and do something, because that was better than doing nothing. And I'm fiddling around here looking for my little small punch. I don't see it anywhere. Maybe, let me check in my box here. Anyway, as we go along here, we're going to walk you through this and see if we can get our problems corrected. We're going to change out those sights. That'll do. And hopefully when we're done, this thing will be a nice, reliable firearm. Unlike what it has been so far for Justin. So. Okay, now that we've got this, all the mechanism out of the stock, we're going to start by just removing this rear pin. And it's got, on one side it'll be indented, on the other side it's even. You want to push it out from the side that it's indented in. I'm not even going to have to tap on it, I'm just able to press it through freely. So what that pin does is that allows us to remove our trigger mechanism and everything out. Hammer and everything are contained within. It's a fairly simple process. This is pretty gummed up. We'll go ahead and just clean everything out before we put her back together. It's had a lot of powder garbage on it and such like that. Next thing we'll see in here is our bolt mechanism. The bolt mechanism just rides on, instead of a single guide rod, it rides on two separate guide rods, and those separate guide rods each have their own spring to mitigate the recoil. The other thing you'll notice in here is a big rubber plug that the bolt bounces off of. That's just to protect the receiver. On the back here you'll notice that we have two set screws. So those set screws are what hold those guide rods in place. So our first procedure is going to be just simply to remove the charging handle, which just pulls out of the top. Really not a very well engineered mechanism if you ask me, but hey, that's what we've got. Next thing we'll go ahead and do is see if we've got a proper size bit to go with these heads here. And they're just, this particular one is just finger tight, so what we're going to do is we'll just unscrew that one out. Set that set screw aside. Check this other one and see, and it's again just finger tight. We'll set that aside. What that then does is allows those rods to be worked out the back of the receiver. And as they're pulled out, they're just pulled free. We'll set those aside. We'll pull the spring out. And we'll work on this other one and see if we can get it to come out. All I'm doing to operate those is just moving the bolt back. Got that one freed out the back. We'll go ahead and remove that one's associated spring also, and that should have the bolt free to just come out and lift out of the top, which it does. We'll just take a look at it here. There's our firing pin, and you can see that it's working fine. If you look right here, you'll notice our spring that we were talking about. Pull that out, clean that up while we're at it. But this is where the extractor comes around to the front of the bolt and grabs a hold of the 22 shell. spring goes in there, and then there's a little pin that goes on the end of that spring that pushes force onto the extractor. Okay, so obviously by looking at it you can tell that this thing is very dirty. So what we'll do is go ahead and pause our cameras for right now. I'm going to go ahead and clean all this stuff up. I'm sure the last thing that you guys want to watch me do is spray brake free all over gun parts. So I'll get this stuff all cleaned up and then we'll get right back with you all.